It's time for Mr. Fundamental!
Presented by no one.
The Houston Rockets made a lot of changes this offseason, but the biggest change is James Harden's commitment to the franchise. There has been a lot of rumors about him going to the Nets, but recent reports have been denying that, well, at least for now. The Rockets' offseason moves haven't exactly upgraded their supporting cast around Harden, but did provide them with flexibility, and hiring Stephen Silas is going to be huge. He was credited and played a big part in Luka's development and the Mavs' league-leading offense. So let's see what Silas and their other new additions can do to make Harden's life easier and possibly convince him to stay. A quick look at their small ball offense last year. Trading Capella was a necessary move since you can't have two non-shooters on the floor in the NBA now. Westbrook definitely benefited from their 5-outs since he had less traffic to navigate through and just needed to focus on beating his man. Defenses typically sag off Westbrook, which means his defender is still in front of him, and having Capella in the dunker spot means his defender can rotate later as well. Even if Thompson rotated, the offense stagnates because there's no opening with a lack of spacing. The thing to remember here is that these 5-outs are great for players like Westbrook, which means it's essential for John Wall to maximize his production. On the other hand, these 5-outs don't have as big of an impact to Harden, but that's mostly because of his tendency to settle for step-backs, instead of bending the defense with a drive. Another thing is that he doesn't need the 5-out, since his defender is always pressing up against him, meaning his drives puts him in front of his man. This forces the help defense to rotate earlier, creating the space between Capella and his defender, and makes these lobs unstoppable. A quick crossover leaves Harden's defender in the dust. Before he even reaches the free throw line, Capella's defender is already rotating, since Brown is out of position. All of this leads to another lob and another dunk. After a few of these lobs, their bigs will hesitate to step up, and Harden can go all the way to the rim. The thing to keep in mind here is that Harden is effective regardless of 5-outs, but these lob passes are shorter and more threatening compared to a kickout. Another problem with their 5-out is actually spacing, believe it or not. Typically, an offense would have this much space between two shooters. The Rockets went from having a player like Capella waiting in a dunker spot to the 3-point line. While that sounds like a good recipe, this also means 3 players have to share the same distance now. The distance between shooters is lessened, and defenders will take less time to rotate and recover. This is why LeBron could swoop in for the block on Harden. Check out how having a player at the dunker spot changes this dynamic. DeRozan has to rotate down, leaving White to cover this distance on his own. Bear in mind, Harden is over here. DeRozan still didn't rotate low enough, and Capella gets the putback. The Rockets have their own way of overcoming this, usually standing further behind the 3-point line to create more distance between them and the defenders. Or they will continuously spread the distance between shooters, and basically replace the spot of where the action started. The most effective way is sending a cutter from the weak side, but they barely do that. They were 24th in frequency, and graded out at just 6.9 percentile. This is where a player like Christian Wood comes in, for all the issues I've mentioned. Wood is a bouncy stretch big who can play in and out, so if John Wall is initiating the offense, Wood can spot up on the weak side to spread the floor and knock down these threes. If Harden is running the offense, Wood can occupy the dunker spot. House drives against the closeout and finds him for the slam. Wood is an average but willing cutter, which will keep the weak side defense guessing. This brings us to Stephen Silas and his offensive impact. The first thing you'll notice is the position of their centers. The Rockets love stationing Tucker in the corner, while the Mavs have KP at the top of the key. This puts more pressure on the defense, since rotating down from the top is much more difficult compared to the corners. This pick and pop with KP stopped Ayton from rotating down and protecting the basket, allowing Curry to get all the way to the rim. While Wood might not have the super green light to pull the trigger, but you can see how wide open the paint is. The biggest downfall for the Rockets is their tendency to isolate. Yeah, getting the ball in your best player's hands is good, and Harden is pretty damn efficient in isolations, but that was also a huge reason why he was gassed out in the playoffs. Look at the amount of dribble moves and fakes it takes to get his defender swaying in the slightest direction. Even on makes, he had to beat 3 defenders in order to get a floater to barely roll in. These type of isolations ain't going anywhere, but Silas can make life easier for him, just like what the Mavs did with Luka. This flex action got Luka coming off the screen with his defender closing up on him. Attacking off the catch gets him past his defender and all the way to the rim, despite the bad spacing. They ran a pick and roll with Luka 1 pass away. His man helps on the action, while Luka flares to the Powell screen, and another straight line drive gets him in the paint. He does turn it over, but you can see how much easier they created openings compared to a straight up ISO like these. Another problem the Rockets had was the defense trying to get the ball out of Harden's hands, and their loss against the Warriors early in the season was a prime example. Harden won't be able to initiate their offense, but it puts their other role players out of their comfort zone and need to create quickly before the defense sets again. Thing is, these ball screens are required to get a preferred mismatch on Harden, but bringing another defender closer to him could also lead to these double teams, and our house has to generate a shot. Something as simple as a double screen got Luka to switch. If the Cavs doubled, Thompson would be stuck between a roll and pop. Powell's roll could lead to a alley-oop, since Garland would be ineffective in contesting the lob. If Thompson sticks with the roll, there won't be a defender close enough to recover if Osman went for the double. Now Luka gets a switch and does the dance, but just comes up short on the step back. It's not like the Rockets never ran any actions, but the Mavs sets have more wrinkles. Check out the back screen here. Because of the lob threat, Payne drops lower to shadow. That rotation is all they needed to create this open 3. They'll also run actions away from the ball to keep the attention away from Luka, like the Spain pick and roll. That back screen gets Sarge looking away, and Luka gets all the way to the rim. Again, the back screen gets Ayton trying to stick with Boban, opening up this lane for the drive, and Harden will easily score or draw the foul. Another thing to look out for is how they always generate sideline actions with no weak side help to tag the roller. Here's a double screen for Iverson cut, and flows into a step-up screen. If Wright went middle, there's no defender to tag the KP roll. Wright drives towards the baseline with a whole lane open. That collapses defense and finds Powell, who scores on the goaltend. Gordon or even Harden could be in this position and draw quick fouls when the defense gets too aggressive. What I'm most excited about is the use of Harden off ball. The Rockets did that occasionally to take the pressure off Harden, but the lack of rollers and average creators often led to stagnant ISOs. Teams are going to deny Harden the ball, so these backdoor V cuts is going to make things easier for him. Harden's gravity is on another level, so using him as a screener is going to create a lot of openings. This time Harden doesn't even need to do that, and a slip screen gets him another basket at the rim. The Rockets sized up with the addition of Cousins and Wood. Ever since they traded Capella, they lost that roller for easy baskets at the rim. Tucker became the main screener, but he's not much of a roll threat. Add on the fact that teams have shifted to packing the paint, then recovering on shooters. Taking away a roller isn't exactly helping Harden open up the paint. Having Wood would give them a capable roller, but not compromise their 5-out when he's away from the action. If the defense resorts to switching, the Rockets don't have to rely on Harden to do everything from the perimeter, but Wood could do some damage attacking smaller players as well. The defense switched to pick and pop to close up any openings. Now Harden could attack the center if he wishes, but also defer to the mismatch in the post. Harden could get some rest, while the defense might start doubting their switching strategy. Even with the traditional big, these double screens force the switch. Now imagine Cousins in the place of Boban, and just bullying smaller defenders in the post. The last thing to focus on is John Wall. He isn't a natural fit, but is a slight upgrade compared to Westbrook in terms of spot-up shooting. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I'm sure other videos have covered this enough, so I'm not going to get into that. I've mentioned how the Rockets can still run their 5-out even after sizing up, and that's where Wall will excel. He's going to have the best spacing he's ever had in his career, which would help his game coming back from injuries. I haven't seen a lot of Harden screening for Westbrook actions, but this worked wonders during the Jeremy Lin days. The Mavs weren't shy about guard-to-guard screens, so we might see a lot more of this to either get mismatches or create openings for easy baskets. I don't think the Rockets got better after the offseason, but changes in the front office provided more flexibility and the option to get out of their ISO ball. Of course, Silas' impact is going to come down to Harden's willingness to adapt and accept these changes. All signs are pointing that he will, with his support behind his new coach, giving the Rockets another shot, and he must have seen how well the Mavs played last season as well. I know it wouldn't be a complete replication of the Mavs, but just adding some of those concepts into a Harden-led offense is already enough to do damage in the West. We'll see how it turns out in the upcoming season. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think this Rockets team can achieve next year, and how you feel about their offseason moves. Please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.